Did you kill Emogene Thompson?
I did not kill Emogene Thompson. I had no part in her death on the 16th or 15th of April 1993.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that having been said, I've always said, and I've said it too, and I think it's been aired before, I feel responsible for not protecting her. I could have done a better job at it, and I forever live with that consequence, as many others have too. But I didn't recognize the danger she was in,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my fault. I own that one, and always will. But no, I did not kill Emogene Thompson.
It does appear from everything I've read that, she did trust you and put the faith in you. And so beyond that first time you responded to her home, what kind of contact had you had after that with her?
That's the thing with her. She was relying on information from friends of hers, neighbors and workers she worked with that knew me and had contact with me and knew my reputation. Because my contact with Miss Thompson was so short. 15 minutes on April the 3rd on the initial call. The return on Sunday, the callback, that was probably less than 5 minutes. So my actual physical contact with her was only 20 minutes maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot right there. But 20 minutes is the best guesstimate I've said I can be able to figure over the years.
So there were no outside of work follow-ups, no call to check serial numbers in a parking lot?
Oh, no. That was, I know where that's coming from. That was what I told her. Let me back up on the initial call.
Mm-hmm.
She did not want to have her son locked up, all right, because he had all these issues of his own. He was facing all kinds of legal problems himself, and she didn't, like a good mom, she just wanted to help him or get help for him, but she wanted her money back. And I had helped a friend of hers get her money, get some jewelry back, if I remember right. And her daughter was involved with this bunch over there. So I told Miss Thompson, I said, well, we called it running the boo in those days. We can run the boo on him and see what he will or will not do. So that's what I told him. I said, you're fixing to go to jail. I'm fixing to go lock you and all your little playmates up. And it evolved into that right there. What she was telling her friends, if anything, I do not know. But I see where that probably evolved from, was that little 2 minutes with Mikey Thompson,
Mm-hmm.
that original call day on April the 3rd.
And
But no, there never was any meeting or anything like that. Now, one thing I want people to remember too is you've got to go back 30 years, what I call BC, before cell phone. We were still operating on the landline. There was, and they took 6,000 plus minus phone recordings from just about every phone I could ever possibly be around, and there was nothing. There was no predatory stance whatsoever. So it's totally imaginative that there was any kind of predator activity going on my behalf. There was no. You got to keep, like I said, you got to keep in mind there was no cell phones in those days. It was all old school.
when you were being interviewed and questioned about all this, was there a certain point where things turned for you and you thought, I might be in trouble here, they're really leaning in on me?
Well, any investigator will tell you the first thing you find out what it can't be, then you know what it can be. And I get how investigations work, the process of elimination. I had contact with her on April the 3rd. His initial call. There was no crime to report anyway, but that's why there was no report. Then on April the 4th, the next day, that Sunday, that was a follow-up. I stood on her front porch and talked to her just a few minutes to the door. She still didn't want to prosecute, so there was basically nothing I could do. But I had contact with her, so I knew how investigations work. So yes, it went on from the onset. I thought they had done their jobs, and seeing that I was with the fire department that night, most of the night, and all during their window of the murder. So I thought they had done their jobs, and I found out later on they hadn't as I progressed. friend. And this is the ultimate betrayal. He thinks he was betrayed. He didn't look at it from my point of view. You know, one thing you got to remember here: the people that don't know need to know this, and it is a fact. I became a suspect on the night that Miss Thompson was found dead, April the 16th. I was a suspect by name. They named me. They were checking me out. Yet these people left me on duty for 6 days till April the 23rd. Didn't tell me what's the first thing to do when a cop's accused of anything. He's put on a desk job, right? Mm-hmm. Suspended with pay. Mm-hmm. But you know why they left me? They let me roam around because if they had come at me and said, "Okay, you're a suspect from onset," first word out of my mouth would have been lawyer, and they couldn't have that. So, but as John Q. citizen of Beaufort, I've been outraged at the fact that they let me run loose for 6 days as a suspect. Well, I'd like to go ask them that why they did that.
Yeah. And I think one of the big pieces of the puzzle was obviously that dispatch recording that could help place you at the fire station, and you know the development on that, I assume.
Right. I know how. Unfortunately, I've had to learn the law a little bit the hard way, so in a legal sense. It frankly just angered me intensely that they would do something like this, but it's not surprising because they had to maintain the integrity of the prosecution ever since. But I always knew it was the truth. The firemen were telling the truth. But yes, it's vindicating to know that people can now see. And I'm glad it's come up.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, too, about some of the forensics that, contributed to your conviction as well, and what to you is explainable. I mean, can you explain the blood spatter on the jacket or in the vehicle, and what to you you have no explanation for?
Okay, well, we'll start with the rain jacket, all right? The rain jacket, much to the mythology of this case, has never been tested for DNA. I've fought since 2005, been trying to get it tested for DNA, and you can go back and read the legal filings from then and you see the reasons I was wanted to be tested. Law was designed and brought into play in 2003 just for this situation. When in doubt, bring it out and test it. But they said it may have contamination, possibly of human origin. All right, fine. It was a 3 or 4 year old working coat. I only wore it crash sites and animals having to be put down and bad wrecks and stuff. You would expect to find some kind of fluid contamination, but there is no ballistic diametric pattern of what they say happened anywhere on that coat from what I've seen. Technology has grown such now we can tell you even if there is possible contamination from another source or another event, they can tell now where that blood came from and whether it came from a human body or from a stored source. And the car sample, that car, I know what they told, I know what they said. I was telling Aaron the other day, one of the things about that 40 nanograms of supposed sample in that such a awkward position to be found and not even open to the way I operated my vehicle. Somebody needs to riddle me this. How did it get over, around, and under, and over, and top of everything that was in front of it? All the items on the car seat came back clean. Nothing else was contaminated. Why this one tiny spot on this armrest that was always kept in the up position? The simple fact that car sat unsecured for so many days in general parking, just inconceivable as in having any evidentiary value
6 days
whatsoever. But like I said, that there's such a small sample, and such a place that it was allegedly found, nothing else being contaminated in front of it, on top of it, and beyond it. It just, again, somebody's going to have to explain it to me, but smarter than I am.
Mike, if I had asked you on April 1st, 1993, before the murder of Emogene Thompson, if you had any enemies in Gwinnett County in the police department, what would you have said?
Oh, I would have said absolutely. If I wasn't doing my job, I wasn't making I wouldn't be making an enemy. I would have made a lot more friends. But yeah, I had some people I just didn't like to work with because I didn't trust them. And what I've learned about them since then, my instinct was right. Uh, One individual in particular, I had issues with uh, about giving information away to people he shouldn't have been giving it to. And I say that from actual catching them doing it, so it's not speculation.
It wouldn't be beyond believability that someone might plant evidence or have framed you in some way?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I believe if the so-called samples in the car are actually what they say they are, uh, what better opportunity than those 6 days it's set open to anybody? And who's going to suspect a uniformed cop walking around a uniformed vehicle, in the wee hours? And another thing too, another clue I like this is people don't grasp the concept just how large I was in those days and riding in the front seat of that small compartment. The armrest had to be kept up just so I could operate it and operate the equipment. So when they searched that vehicle, they lowered the armrest to search behind it. They left them down. Somebody of, let's say, normal proportions wouldn't know that it was odd for them armrests to be down.
The last big question, people have in this case is about the motive. Porter had argued, and they had argued that you were in financial straits and desperately needed this $7,000.
Now, you would have to ask those closest to me about my attitude towards money. If I had $10 in my pocket, I was rich. Or if I had $100, I was rich. I had the perfect financial plan a married man could have. I made money and I gave it to my wife.
True.
I didn't even carry a wallet. How's that tell you? So yeah, I did. We were not in by no means. I think their own high dollar Canadian forensic accountant they brought in his Gucci suit flew down and analyzed our financial records for several years before and after. He came to the conclusion that, shock of shocks, we were living paycheck to paycheck, didn't have credit cards, so therefore we were guilty. One of the few things I like my lawyer did say during the trials, he stood up and told Mr. Canadian forensic accountant, he said, I don't know how y'all do it up there, but that's how we do it in the South. We cash and carry, and that's what we did. Now, we were no means financial dire straits. I've heard that garbage. I've heard it's ridiculous. We could have got money. I mean, sad thing is a long time after trial, we found reading the hard copies from our what's called MDT, our car computers. They put it's like emails today, but it was emails back in the day. We talked to each other. Wow, I got a copy of it during one of the legal.
No third-party calls are allowed.
During the the legal filings later on, I was able to read some of these hard copies, and lo and behold, in the weeks before all this went down, there was some monies that we didn't even know about that I had available to me. I was running a part-time job for traffic detail on a construction site. You can see us talking about what the pay is and the cash was, and it was $200, $300, $400 right there. So no, money in those days, if you was willing to work, you could make money.
If everyone watching this can hear one thing from you, what do you want that to be?
The one thing I would like people to take from this conversation and remember that the truth can be denied by many people, but the truth will not be denied to be found out sooner or later. It will not stop.
Amen.
It will not be deterred. It will keep coming, and it will be known in the end. So my evidence lies in that fact right there. God's got this. I'm not worried about it. Truth's being found out. Everybody's knowing. It's just a matter of time. And somebody with authority is going to do the right thing. And I'm going to be back home with my family very soon, I think.